Welcome back, everyone, to another technical analysis. And today we're taking a look at Arbitrum coin. Now, we are seeing some signs of weakness currently kicking in, which might send the price back to the slower zones of like 26, 27 ish dollars. But before we go to the smaller time frames, what we saw similar to last time, we had a nice breakdown, similar to right now. We had a proper retest. This one was considered also a retest of the previous lows breaking. And now, since then, we had some sort of like a sideways moment until we formed a nice break of structure, which was above the 200 EMA. Now, we are expecting a similar moment to happen on the ARB coin right now as well, which means that we want to see again some sort of this movement. So putting it here, and this line pushing it right now towards this area. So this one is acting as some sort of like a supportive zone right now, similar to this one and this one as well. So you can see we had two touches, which on the daily time frames are enough for it to consider to be a support zone. And now what we want to see is for a price to decline further down, go for a sideways movement to bounce from one side to another, similar to this one here, and eventually go for a break of structure or mark structure break in this case, actually. So this is the zone, other like area for this. And right now here we are going to consider this area here. So we had a fake out here, failed to retest. Then we had attempt of breakout, failed, proper breakout, secured retest, break of 200 DMAs, and this would have been a perfect entry for our position. But we missed it, of course. Now, not to miss it this time, what we are going to wait for is for the price to decline further down, maybe catch some sort of like a long position from here, which would be like risk and reward ratio would be actually pretty good. So 1 to 3, 1 to 4. Target would be again in this region from this zone to this zone. So from 35 and a half cents to 35 cents basically. But right now we are looking for the price to decline further down to lower zones. And in this case, we are looking for the price to move back here now. If we would go into a short position right now, it would be one of the worst like positions in our case because risk and reward ratio would be like 1 to 1 basically, which is very bad. But in those cases, we like to dollar cost average the position, so have a multiple entries and average our entry position. Now, overall point of interest for us are basically so this area here, which is acting as some sort of neckline zone in combined with a zone of EMAs on the 4 hour time frame. And what's also concerning us is this bullish CMA gap here as well. But one thing is, looking back at last time, so right after not filling the forming the CMA gap, we still had some sort of like downward movement similar to here. I think we had previous like here as well. You can see and here as well. So we didn't actually went for a fill of those zones, but to get a better clarity, taking a look here, we had also a CMA gap which wasn't filled immediately here, and it should be here as well somewhere, or it should not be. Like, okay, this got filled pretty quick, but overall, I think you got the point that the CMA gap on the ARB coin is not acting as some strong supportive zone, not supportive, but magnets. So what we are looking for is a break of structure in this region, and stop loss would be pretty tight, which would mean a stop loss being closer to this zone. So once we see a proper breakdown here, stop loss would be dragged here, and target would be, of course, the lower zones of this area. So in this case, the risk and reward ratio is 1 to 2.5, which is way better than 1 that we had at first. Now, going to the 30-minute time frame, we want to see now. Let's drag it this way. What we want to see is break of this area here. Now, once we see the breakdown from this zone, we need to retest it. So immediately we would open a smaller position like 0.5% of portfolio with 20x actually 10x leverage because this coin is way too volatile. And upon seeing a retest in this region, and once we see a successful retest, we would add additional 1% into position. So it would be like 1.5 into the overall position. And in this case, once we see this successful retest, we would narrow down the stop loss closer to this region here, actually. So risk and reward ratio would be once again 1 to 3 now. So there's nothing much to talk about right now. What we are waiting for is to see a proper breakdown from this region here. And once we see this breakdown here, which is currently seems pretty optimistical because price is seeing some sort of like weakness kicking in. On the 5 minute time frame, we should see even like proper like view, strong sell side, stronger sell side. So lower low, lower low, lower low, and possibly this another attempt is going to be additional lower low. So on the smaller time frames, this would be the region that we would want to see the price to decline further to the lower zones towards this area. And once we see the breakdown, we have to see a liquidity moment here. So a liquidity grab, quick movement to lower zones, retest, and this would be the final confirmation for us for the ARB coin to move to the lower zones. But other than that, on the bigger time frames, the daily time frame, we still see there is a good chance of the price to again have a similar pattern that we had previously. So once again, let's remove all the small things here. And that's the moment we want to see on the bigger time frame. Like that. This actually, whoa, way. Okay, I'm just going to do it like this. One, okay, never mind. So few zones where you can take position is, of course, once we hit this lower bottom here, you can look for mark structure break, which means once we are at the bottom, so 2 touches, as you can see, the first touch here, second will be here, then a breakout, retest, movement to the upper zones. So this would be the mark structure break, and this would be the final confirmation after following a break of structure, and a long position can be taken. And then just gliding from one side to another until we see a proper movement or a breakout from this area. Now, the sideways movement is very necessary on the ARB coin in order to drag down this 200 EMA line, which would mean we might see, let me take the brush quickly. So it will be dragged here, 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 here. And this would be the point similar to this one that we are going to also look for in order to catch this quick spike to the upper zones. Now, with those spikes, it's like there is not a confirmation where you might hit a local top, but what you can do is basically taking a previous resistance zones, which were this region here. So in our case, actually, it would be this zone, and we would extend this zone here as well. So this would be the final target, 62 cents, and meanwhile we would just glide from one side to another, trying to catch this position, and basically pretty good risk and reward ratio trades can be taken on the ARB coin. So that's it for this one. As always, guys, thank you for watching this video, and see you on the next one.